There are different types of business entities available in India. In such a case, why should we form a company? This is what we are going to understand. Section 11 of the Companies Act 1956 prohibits some businesses, among them business of banking, other than the business of banking, which is having its object of acquisition of gain. This is what we are going to understand. Why to form company when there are other business structures available like sole proprietorship, partnership, limited liability partnerships. The provisions of section 11 prohibits some associations from doing two specific types of businesses. These are: one, business of banking, a company whose object is to carry on business of banking. Number two, acquisition of gain by the business, a company which has for its object acquisition of gain by the business. So if a partnership wants to do the business of banking and it consists number of persons exceeding 10, it is not allowed to do business of banking unless it is formed and registered under the Companies Act 1956. Similarly, associations of persons, company. When does the Act prohibits a company from doing above businesses? When these companies consist in number of persons exceeding certain limit. Similarly, it applies to associations and also to partnerships. What is the number for a business of banking? It is not exceeding 10. What is that number for a business which has its object acquisition of gain? It is not exceeding 20. If you set aside these compulsions, many instances see that some may on their own prefer to form company business entities. Under some legislation compulsion like the Companies Act 1956, some need to form company business entities. Let us see what those prohibitions are and what the Act says in its own words. Business of banking, subsection 1 of section 11. No company, association or partnership consisting of more than 10 persons shall be formed for the purpose of carrying on the business of banking unless it is registered as a company under this Act or is formed in pursuance of some other Indian law. Let us repeat slowly. Try to understand the Companies Act in its own language. No company, no association or no partnership consisting of more than 10 persons, underline, consisting of more than 10 persons shall be formed for the purpose of carrying on the business of banking unless it is registered as a company under this Act or is formed in pursuance of some other Indian law. Under a couple of clusters, underline a couple of clusters of words. One, business of banking. Another, consisting of more than 10 persons. More than 10 persons. See, no company consisting more than 10 persons shall be formed for the purpose of carrying on the business of banking unless it is registered as a company under this Act or unless it is formed as a company in pursuance of some other Indian law. Similarly, let us also take in the place of company, association or partnerships. It means again, no company consisting of more than 10 persons, no association consisting of more than 10 persons, or no partnership consisting of more than 10 persons shall be formed for the purpose of carrying on the business of banking, unless it is registered as a company under this act, or unless it is formed as a company in pursuance of some other Indian law. So, business of banking, as well as the business of banking is concerned, if more than 10 persons it consists, it needs to get registered as a company. Now, let us go to other businesses other than the business of banking. So, what the section 11 says here is, any other business that has for its object the acquisition of gain by the business entity. Subsection 2 of section 11 says it. Any other business that has for its object the acquisition of gain by the business entity. More than 20 persons. Underline expression. More than 20 persons. See, let us understand in the language of the Companies Act 1956. Subsection 2 of section 11. No company, no association, no partnership consisting of more than 20 persons shall be formed for the purpose of carrying on any other business that has for its object the acquisition of gain by the company or association or partnership or by the individual members thereof, unless it is registered as a company under this act or is formed in pursuance of some other Indian law. Here, in simple terms, we can understand, if a company or if an association or a partnership consisting more than 20 persons shall be formed for the purpose of carrying on any other business. Any other business means other than the business of banking that has its object the acquisition of gain by the company. It needs to get registered as a company under this act, or it needs to be formed in pursuance of some other Indian law. So this is what we need to understand. Here again underline an expression, number of persons. Number of persons condition in the above both provisions seem unrealistic in some business environments like joint family businesses. Very important point we need to understand here. When it comes to joint family businesses, condition number of persons seem unrealistic. So a joint family business may consist number of persons more than 20. See what that act says. Subsection 3 of section 11 says, this section shall not apply to a joint family as such or carrying on business. This section shall not apply to a joint family as such carrying on a business, and where a business is carried on by two or more joint families, in computing the number of persons for the purposes of subsections 1 and subsection 2, minor members of such families shall be excluded. See, underline. It doesn't apply to a joint family. If the business is carried on by more than two joint families, it applies. So now what compulsions are making business entities to become companies, to get formed as company, to do business of banking or other businesses other than the business of banking, which has its object of gain, needs to get form a company. This is what section 11 we understood.